Shayla Washington stood in the hallway of her own home, listening to her husband laugh with another woman in their bedroom. Not just any laugh, the kind of laugh Marcus used to save for her, deep, warm, full of life. Her hand gripped the doorknob so tight her knuckles turned white. She'd come home early from her shift at Memorial Hermann Hospital in Houston because she wasn't feeling well. Now she understood why her body had been screaming at her all week. Sometimes your body knows the truth before your mind catches up. She pushed the door open. Marcus jerked away from the young woman sitting on their bed, their bed, the one they'd picked out together 15 years ago. The woman couldn't have been older than 25. She wore one of Shayla's silk robes. Her makeup was perfect. Her skin was smooth and tight. Everything Shayla's wasn't anymore, apparently. Shayla, Marcus scrambled to his feet. Baby, this isn't. Don't, Shayla's voice came out steady, which surprised even her. Don't you dare call me baby right now. The young girl, really, had the decency to look uncomfortable. She grabbed her clothes from the floor and rushed past Shayla without making eye contact. Marcus ran his hand over his fade, that gesture he always made when he was stressed. Look, I can explain. You're 48 years old, Marcus, 48, and you're bringing girls young enough to be your daughter into our home. She's 26, not a child, Marcus said defensively. Shayla laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just pure raw pain. Oh, well, that makes it so much better. You don't understand what it's like, Shayla, Marcus's voice rose. Every day I wake up and look in the mirror and see myself getting older, grayer, slower. And then I look at you. At me, Shayla touched her chest. What about me? Marcus's face twisted into something ugly, something she'd never seen before in all their 17 years of marriage. You've let yourself go. When's the last time you went to the gym? When's the last time you put on something nice for me? You're always tired, always complaining about your back or your knees or... I'm 45 years old and I work 12-hour shifts as a nurse. Shayla's voice finally cracked. I come home exhausted because I spend all day saving lives, Marcus. Excuse me for not looking like an Instagram model when I'm trying to keep people from dying. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Marcus threw his hands up. You're always playing the victim, always making excuses. Tasha doesn't make excuses. She takes care of herself. She makes me feel young again. Tasha? Shayla repeated the name like it was poison. You're really telling me her name. You were going to find out eventually. Marcus sat down on the bed, suddenly looking tired. I want a divorce, Shayla. The room spun. Shayla grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. You what? I want a divorce. I'm not happy anymore, haven't been for years if I'm being honest. Marcus wouldn't even look at her. You're too old for me now, too set in your ways, too tired. I need someone who can keep up with me, someone who makes me feel alive. Shayla felt something inside her chest crack wide open. Not her heart. That was still beating somehow, something deeper. Something that had been holding her together all these years. Get out, she whispered. What? Get out. Shayla's voice got louder with each word. This is my house. My name is on the deed because my mother left me the down payment money when she died, so you get out, now. Marcus stood up slowly. Fine, I'll pack my things, but don't think you're getting everything in the divorce. I've got a good lawyer. I'm sure Tasha will be very impressed with a 48-year-old man who lives in a studio apartment, Shayla shot back. After Marcus left, Shayla walked through the house in a daze. The walls seemed to close in on her. 17 years. 17 years of cooking his favorite meals, ironing his shirts, supporting his dreams of starting a construction company. She'd worked doubles to help pay off his business loans. She'd held him when his father died. She'd been there through everything. And now she was too old. Shayla caught sight of herself in the hallway mirror. Dark brown skin with a few fine lines around her eyes. Natural hair pulled back in a practical bun. Scrubs still on from her shift. She looked like what she was, a woman in her mid-40s who worked hard and loved harder. When had that become something to be ashamed of? Her phone buzzed, a text from her best friend Janelle. "Girl, are you okay? I just saw Marcus's car leaving your driveway looking like a bat out of hell." Shayla's fingers hovered over the keyboard. How did you sum up the end of your marriage in a text message? "He wants a divorce. He's been cheating with a 26-year-old, says I'm too old." The phone rang immediately. "Don't you move," Janelle said without even saying hello. "I'm coming over right now, and I'm bringing wine and ice cream, and maybe some sage to cleanse that negative energy Marcus left behind." Despite everything, Shayla smiled. "You don't have to." "Hush, I'm already in my car." Before we continue with Shayla's story, please tell us which city you are watching us from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. When the story ends, rate it from 0 to 10. Share what you felt along the way. And if you enjoy emotional story filled with twists and hidden truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss out on any of our stories. 3 months later, Shayla sat in her lawyer's office, reading through the divorce papers. Marcus's attorney had fought for half of everything, even though Marcus hadn't contributed nearly as much to their life together as Shayla had. "He's claiming he helped build your career by supporting you through nursing school," her lawyer, Patricia Chen, explained. Patricia was a sharp woman in her 50s with silver hair she wore proudly. "Even though you've shown documentation that you paid for your own schooling with student loans and scholarships." "Of course he is." Shayla signed the papers with a flourish. "Is he still with that girl?" Patricia glanced at her. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." "According to social media. And yes, I looked because I'm nosy and I care about my clients. He proposed to her last week. They're planning a wedding for this summer." Shayla's hand froze mid-signature. "He proposed. It's been 3 months." Men like Marcus move fast when they're having what I call a mortality crisis. Patricia leaned back in her chair. "They think a younger woman will make them young again. It never works, but they have to learn that the hard way." "I wasted 17 years on him." "No," Patricia's voice was firm. "You didn't waste anything. You loved someone fully. That's never a waste. What he did with that love, that's on him, not you." Shayla left the lawyer's office feeling hollowed out. The divorce would be final in 60 days. 60 days and her marriage would be over. Marcus would be free to marry his young girlfriend. And Shayla, what was she supposed to do? She drove through Houston's busy streets without really seeing them. Her phone buzzed with a text from Janelle. "Dinner at my place tonight. No is not an answer." Janelle lived in 3rd Ward in a renovated townhouse she'd bought herself after her own divorce 5 years ago. When Shayla arrived, the smell of fried chicken and mac and cheese hit her like a hug. "Come on in, girl." Janelle pulled her inside. "I made your favorites." Also sitting at Janelle's table was their friend group, women Shayla had known since college. Keisha, who owned a hair salon in Midtown, Rochelle, who taught high school English, and Donna, who worked as an engineer at NASA. "Is this an intervention?" Shayla asked. "It's an appreciation," Keisha corrected. "We've been watching you shrink into yourself these past few months. Tonight, we remind you who the hell you are." Over dinner, the women shared their own stories. Rochelle's husband had left her for a younger woman 10 years ago. Keisha had been cheated on repeatedly before she finally left. Donna had never married but had plenty of dating horror stories. "Men like Marcus are everywhere," Donna said, spearing a piece of chicken. "They hit their 40s and panic. They think their value is decreasing, so they grab onto something young to prove they've still got it. It's pathetic, really." "But why do they think we're the problem?" Shayla asked. "Why is it that we're too old, too tired, too whatever? What about them? Marcus has a beer belly and hasn't been to the gym in 5 years, but somehow I'm the one who let myself go." "Because society has been telling men they get more distinguished with age while women just get old," Rochelle said. It's garbage, but it's what we're working with. So what do I do now? Shayla looked around the table at these women, her sisters. I'm 45 years old, newly divorced, and apparently past my expiration date. Now, Janelle grinned, now you live, really live. Do all the things you couldn't do when you were trying to make Marcus happy. Like what? Like that nurse practitioner program you've been talking about for years, Keisha suggested. Marcus always said it was too expensive, too much time away from home. Well, Marcus is gone now, so what's stopping you? Shayla blinked. She'd forgotten about that dream. She'd buried it so deep when Marcus complained about her being in school again, about the cost, about the time commitment. I'm too old to go back to school, Shayla said quietly. Every woman at that table looked at her like she'd grown a second head. Girl, Donna said slowly, did you not just complain about Marcus saying you were too old, and now you're going to say it about yourself? That's different. It's not different, Janelle slammed her hand on the table. You're 45, not 95. You've got 30, maybe 40 more years of life ahead of you. You're going to spend them thinking you're too old to chase your dreams. Absolutely not. Not on my watch. Something shifted in Shayla's chest. That crack that had opened when Marcus said he wanted a divorce, it started to feel less like a break and more like space. Room to grow, room to breathe, room to become someone new. Okay, Shayla said. Okay, I'll look into the program. The women cheered so loud Janelle's neighbors probably heard them. Shayla applied to the nurse practitioner program at the University of Texas Health Science Center. She wrote her essay at 2 in the morning after a long shift, her hands shaking from exhaustion and caffeine. She submitted it before she could second-guess herself. 2 weeks later, she got the acceptance letter. She screamed so loud in her empty house that her neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, called to make sure everything was okay. Everything's perfect, Shayla laughed into the phone. I got into the program. Well, praise Jesus, Mrs. Henderson said. I knew you would. Now you go celebrate yourself properly, you hear me? Shayla did celebrate. She bought herself flowers, big, beautiful sunflowers that reminded her of her mother. She got dressed up for the first time in months and took herself to dinner at a nice restaurant downtown. She sat alone at a table for one and didn't feel lonely. She felt free. The program started in August. It was intense, more intense than Shayla had prepared for. Between working full-time at the hospital and taking classes, she barely had time to sleep, but something had awakened in her, a hunger she'd forgotten existed. She was learning again, growing again, becoming again. Marcus texted her occasionally, usually late at night. Thinking about you. Made a mistake. Can we talk? Shayla deleted every message without responding. Patricia had advised her to keep records but not engage. He's probably realizing the grass isn't greener, Patricia had said. Let him lie in the bed he made. 6 months after their divorce was finalized, Shayla was studying at a coffee shop near the medical center when Janelle called. You need to see this. Janelle's voice was tight. I'm sending you a link right now. The link was to Marcus's social media page. There were photos from his wedding to Tasha. Marcus in a tuxedo, looking uncomfortable. Tasha in a white dress that probably cost more than Shayla's car, looking like a fairy tale princess. The comments were what caught Shayla's attention. Congrats, Marcus. Young love looks good on you. Living your best life, bro. She's gorgeous, man. You're a lucky guy. Shayla stared at the photos for a long moment. She waited for the pain to hit, for the jealousy, for the regret. But all she felt was nothing, maybe a little pity. Marcus looked older in these photos. The stress lines around his eyes were deeper. His smile didn't reach his eyes. And Tasha, for all her youth and beauty, looked lost holding onto the arm of a man old enough to be her father. Shayla closed the link and went back to her medical textbooks. She had work to do. The morning air was cool in Houston as Shayla jogged through Herman Park. 6 months ago, she couldn't have run a mile without stopping. Now she was up to 3 miles, and her body felt stronger than it had in years. Janelle had convinced her to join a running group for women over 40. At first, Shayla had resisted. "I'm not a runner," she'd protested, but Janelle had insisted, and now Shayla understood why. There was something powerful about moving your body through space, about pushing past the burn in your lungs and the ache in your legs, about proving to yourself that you were capable of more than you thought. "Looking good, Shayla," called out Mercedes, one of the other women in the group. Mercedes was 52, a retired Marine who could outrun women half her age. "You've really found your stride." Shayla grinned and waved. 3 months into the running group, and she'd found not just exercise, but community. These women understood what it meant to rebuild yourself from the ground up. After the run, Shayla showered and headed to her shift at Memorial Hermann. She worked in the cardiac unit now, having transferred from general medicine. The work was demanding but rewarding. She loved the challenge of it, loved learning about the intricacies of the human heart. Ironic, considering her own had been so thoroughly broken just months ago. "Nurse Washington," a voice called from down the hall. It was Dr. Malcolm Pierce, one of the attending cardiologists. He was tall, with deep brown skin and silver at his temples that somehow made him more handsome. He had to be in his early 50s, but he moved with the energy of someone much younger. "Yes, Dr. Pierce. I reviewed your notes on Mr. Thompson. Excellent work catching that irregular rhythm. You potentially saved his life." Shayla felt warmth spread through her chest. "Just doing my job, doctor." "You're doing more than that." Dr. Pierce smiled. "I've been watching you since you transferred to this unit. You have a real gift for cardiac care. Have you ever considered specializing in cardiology for your nurse practitioner work?" "I hadn't really thought about it specifically," Shayla admitted. "Think about it. We need good people in this field. People who actually care about patients, not just procedures." Dr. Pierce hesitated, then added, "If you're interested, I'd be happy to mentor you, show you the ropes, help you navigate the specialty." "Really, you'd do that?" "Of course. Talent like yours shouldn't go to waste." He nodded and walked away, leaving Shayla standing in the hallway with her mind racing. A mentor in cardiology, the most challenging and rewarding specialty in nursing. She pulled out her phone and texted Janelle, "You're not going to believe what just happened." The next few months were a blur of activity. Shayla threw herself into her studies with Dr. Pierce's mentorship. She learned to read EKGs like poetry, to understand the delicate dance of heartbeats and blood flow. She studied late into the night, her small house filled with medical journals and textbooks. But she also made time for herself. She joined Keisha at a paint-and-sip class, discovering she had a hidden talent for abstract art. She took salsa dancing lessons with Rochelle, laughing until her sides hurt as they fumbled through the steps. She traveled to New Orleans with Donna for a weekend, eating beignets and listening to jazz in the French Quarter. She was living, really living. One evening, as Shayla was leaving the hospital, she ran into someone she hadn't seen in months. Literally ran into him. She was looking at her phone and walked straight into a solid chest. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She looked up and froze. Marcus stood there looking shocked. His eyes traveled over her, taking in her new appearance. Shayla had cut her natural hair into a tapered style that Keisha had helped her with. She'd lost 20 pounds from running, not from trying to diet, but from genuine fitness. She wore a fitted dress instead of her usual scrubs. She'd been out to lunch with some classmates before her shift. "Shayla," Marcus's voice cracked, "you look different." "Hi, Marcus." Shayla stepped back, creating space between them. "What are you doing here?" Tasha's having some tests done, pregnancy complications." He ran his hand over his fade, that nervous gesture again. "She's okay, but they wanted to monitor her." "Congratulations on the pregnancy." Shayla meant it. She felt nothing but genuine well wishes. It was strange how completely her feelings had shifted. Yeah, thanks. Marcus shifted his weight. Listen, I've been wanting to talk to you. I tried texting, but... I know, I got your messages. Why didn't you respond? Shayla tilted her head, studying this man she'd spent 17 years with. He looked tired, stressed. The happiness from his wedding photos had already faded. Because we didn't have anything to talk about, Marcus. You made your choice. I've made mine. But I made a mistake, Shayla. Marcus's voice rose, drawing looks from people passing by. He lowered it quickly. I was stupid. I was scared of getting old and I panicked. But Tasha, she's not you. She doesn't understand me like you did. She doesn't. Stop, Shayla held up her hand. Just stop. Do you hear yourself? You have a pregnant wife upstairs, Marcus. A wife you left me for. A wife you told everyone was what you needed to feel young again. And now you're standing here telling me you made a mistake. I did make a mistake, the biggest one of my life. Marcus grabbed her arm. Please, Shayla, can't we just talk? Maybe get coffee or... Shayla pulled her arm away firmly but not unkindly. No, Marcus, we can't. You're married, you're about to be a father, and honestly, I don't want to. I've moved on. To who? Marcus's eyes narrowed. Are you seeing someone? The audacity almost made Shayla laugh. That's none of your business, but for your information, I'm not seeing anyone. I'm too busy building a life I actually love to worry about relationships. I'm in a nurse practitioner program specializing in cardiology. I'm running 3 miles a day. I'm traveling and painting and dancing and living, Marcus. Really living. Not just existing in the shadow of someone else's needs. Marcus's face crumpled. So that's it, 17 years and you just moved on like I meant nothing. You meant everything. For 17 years you meant everything. Shayla's voice softened. But you're the one who said I was too old, too tired, too much of everything you didn't want. So I became everything I did want. And I like who I'm becoming, Marcus. I really do. I can't believe you're being this cold. I'm not being cold, I'm being honest, and I'm being free. Shayla checked her watch. I need to get to my shift. I hope everything goes well with Tasha's pregnancy. Genuinely. She walked away, leaving Marcus standing in the hospital lobby looking lost. As Shayla changed into her scrubs in the locker room, her hands shook slightly, not from pain or regret, but from the sheer power of that moment. She'd faced the man who'd broken her heart and she'd felt nothing, no desire to get back together, no satisfaction from his regret, just a calm certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be. Rochelle had been right that night at Janelle's house. The crack in her chest hadn't been her breaking. It had been her breaking open, making room for something new. 6 months later, Shayla walked across the stage to receive her nurse practitioner certification. She'd specialized in cardiology, just as Dr. Pierce had suggested. The man himself was in the audience, along with Janelle, Keisha, Rochelle, Donna, and Mrs. Henderson from next door. That's my girl, Janelle screamed so loud the entire auditorium heard her. Shayla laughed, tears streaming down her face. She'd done it. Against all odds, while working full-time and rebuilding her entire life, she'd done it. At the celebration dinner afterward, Dr. Pierce pulled her aside. I have something to discuss with you, he said. The hospital is opening a new cardiac specialty clinic. We need a lead nurse practitioner to help run it. Someone with clinical expertise and people skills. Someone patients trust. Okay, Shayla waited. I recommended you for the position. They want to interview you next week. Shayla's jaw dropped. Dr. Pierce, I just graduated. I don't have any experience as an NP yet. You have 20 years of nursing experience. You have intelligence, compassion, and dedication. That's what we need, he smiled. Think about it, but I hope you'll apply. Lead nurse practitioner of a cardiac clinic. Shayla had gone from being told she was too old and washed up to being offered a position that would have been a dream 6 months ago. She got the job. The new clinic opened in May, and Shayla threw herself into the work with passion. She hired a diverse staff, created patient care protocols that emphasized holistic wellness, and quickly earned a reputation for excellence. Dr. Pierce worked closely with her, and Shayla discovered they had similar philosophies about patient care. They both believed in treating the whole person, not just the disease. They both valued listening over lecturing. One evening, after a particularly long day, Dr. Pierce asked if she wanted to grab dinner. "Just as colleagues," he added quickly. "I know a great Ethiopian restaurant nearby. My treat to celebrate your first successful month." Shayla hesitated. It had been over a year since her divorce. She'd been so focused on rebuilding herself that she hadn't even thought about dating. But this was just dinner. Two colleagues celebrating a professional milestone. "Sure," she said, "that sounds nice." Over dinner, Shayla learned that Dr. Pierce, call me Malcolm, please, was a widower. His wife had died of cancer 5 years ago. He had 2 grown daughters who both lived out of state. He'd thrown himself into his work to cope with the grief, much like Shayla had done with her divorce. "I'm just starting to feel like myself again," Malcolm admitted. "Like I'm more than just a doctor who lost his wife. I'm Malcolm, a father, a jazz enthusiast, a terrible golfer." "I understand that," Shayla said. "This past year, I've been discovering who Shayla is when she's not defined by being someone's wife. It's been liberating." They talked for hours, about medicine, about life, about loss and healing. When Malcolm drove her back to her car at the hospital, Shayla felt lighter than she had in years. "Would you like to do this again?" Malcolm asked, "maybe as more than colleagues." Shayla smiled. "I'd like that." They started dating slowly. Malcolm took her to jazz clubs and art galleries. Shayla introduced him to her running group and her friends. He never tried to rush her or pressure her. He just enjoyed her company and she enjoyed his. 3 months into dating, Janelle interrogated her over brunch. "So Malcolm seems great, but are you sure you're ready for this?" Janelle asked. "It hasn't even been 2 years since Marcus." "I know," Shayla said, "but I'm not the same person I was when I was with Marcus. I'm not looking for someone to complete me or validate me. I'm already whole. Malcolm is just someone I enjoy spending time with. If it becomes more, great. If not, that's okay too." "Look at you, all emotionally healthy and stuff," Keisha teased. "I'm proud of you, girl." Shayla stood in the lobby of a downtown Houston hotel, adjusting her name tag. The annual Texas Nurses Association conference was in full swing, and she'd been asked to present on innovative cardiac care models. Her clinic's success had drawn attention from healthcare professionals across the state. Shayla Washington, a young woman, approached her. She looked familiar, but Shayla couldn't place her. Then it clicked: the perfect makeup, the smooth skin, the girl from her bedroom that day. "Tasha." "Hi," Tasha said quietly. She looked different, older somehow, despite being so young. Her eyes had shadows that hadn't been there before. She held a baby carrier with a sleeping infant inside. "Tasha," Shayla kept her voice neutral, "how are you?" "Can we talk, please? I know I have no right to ask, but—" Tasha's voice cracked. "I need to talk to someone who understands." Every instinct told Shayla to walk away. This woman had been part of destroying her marriage, but something in Tasha's eyes, a desperation, a pain that Shayla recognized, made her pause. "There's a quiet corner over there," Shayla said, pointing to a seating area away from the conference bustle. They sat down, the baby still sleeping peacefully between them. "I'm sorry," Tasha started, "for what I did, for being with Marcus while he was still married to you. I was young and stupid, and he made me feel special, and I didn't think about who I was hurting." Shayla studied the young woman. She'd expected to feel anger or vindication. Instead, she felt something like sympathy. "Why are you telling me this now?" Tasha laughed bitterly. "Because I understand now. Everything you went through. Marcus didn't leave you because you were too old or too tired. He left you because he's insecure and selfish. What happened? What didn't happen? Tasha looked down at her baby. We got married and everything was perfect for about 2 months. Then I got pregnant and everything changed. Suddenly I was too tired, too needy, too emotional. Sound familiar? Shayla's stomach dropped. Tasha. He started staying out late, coming home smelling like perfume. When I confronted him, he said I'd changed, that I wasn't fun anymore. That pregnancy had made me old. Tasha wiped her eyes. I'm 27 years old with a 3-month-old baby and my husband is telling me I'm old. Can you believe that? Unfortunately, yes. I saw him at the hospital last month. He was with another woman, younger than me. He didn't even see me, but I saw him. The way he looked at her, that's how he used to look at me. Tasha's voice broke completely. I threw away my 20s for a man who was never going to be satisfied with anyone. I helped destroy your marriage for this. The baby stirred, and Tasha gently rocked the carrier. Shayla watched, her heart heavy. What's her name? Shayla asked. Amja, it means night rain. She's beautiful. They sat in silence for a moment. I don't expect you to forgive me, Tasha finally said, but I wanted you to know that you didn't deserve what happened. None of it was your fault. Marcus made me believe you were this terrible person, but I did research after I saw him at the hospital. I found your social media, read about the clinic you started. You're doing amazing things, Dr. Washington. Nurse practitioner, Shayla corrected gently, and thank you. I wish I'd been smarter. I wish I'd seen him for what he was before I tied myself to him with a baby. Tasha looked defeated. Now I'm stuck. You're not stuck, Shayla heard herself say. You're 27 years old with a beautiful daughter and your whole life ahead of you. Yes, you'll be a single mother and Marcus will make that harder than it needs to be, I'm sure. But you're not stuck, Tasha. You're just at the beginning. How do you do it? How do you not hate me? Shayla thought about that. I did hate you for months, but hating you was like drinking poison and expecting you to die. It only hurt me. And honestly, you're not the villain here. Neither am I. Marcus is just Marcus. A deeply insecure man who will probably do this same thing to that new girl in a few years. Do you think we're stupid? All of us women who fall for men like him. No, I think we're human. We want to be loved. We want to matter. Sometimes we choose the wrong people to give that power to. Shayla leaned forward. But here's what I learned. You can't wait for someone else to make you feel valuable. You have to know your own worth first. Otherwise, you'll keep accepting less than you deserve. Tasha nodded, tears streaming down her face. I need to leave him, don't I? That's not a decision I can make for you. But I can tell you that I've never regretted leaving. Not once. My life got so much better when I stopped trying to be enough for a man who would never think anyone was enough. They exchanged numbers before parting. Shayla didn't know if she'd hear from Tasha again, and she didn't need to. But she hoped the young woman would find the strength to choose herself. That evening, Shayla met Malcolm for dinner at their favorite spot. She told him about the encounter with Tasha. How do you feel about it? Malcolm asked. Sad, mostly. For her. For the years I lost trying to make Marcus happy. For all the women who tie their worth to men who don't deserve them. Malcolm reached across the table and took her hand. You know what I admire most about you? You could have become bitter. You had every right to, but instead you became better, stronger, kinder even. I had good people around me. Janelle, Keisha, Rochelle, Donna, they wouldn't let me stay bitter. Shayla squeezed his hand. And now I have you. Speaking of having me, Malcolm pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. Shayla's heart stopped. Malcolm. Before you panic, this isn't what you think. Well, it is and it isn't. He opened the box to reveal a beautiful ring with a deep blue stone. This was my grandmother's, blue sapphire. Her husband gave it to her on their first anniversary with a promise that he would love her more each year than the year before. They were married for 58 years. It's beautiful. I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. We've only been dating for 8 months and I know you need time, but I wanted you to have this as a promise. A promise that I see you, Shayla, all of you. Your strength and your vulnerability, your intelligence and your compassion. I see you at 46 years old and I think you're the most incredible woman I've ever met. Tears streamed down Shayla's face. You really know how to make a girl cry in a restaurant. Is that a yes to accepting the ring? It's a yes to everything, to taking our time, to building something real, to being seen. Malcolm slipped the ring on her right hand, not her left, not yet. Just a promise of possibility. 3 months later, Shayla's clinic was featured in Texas Monthly magazine as one of the most innovative healthcare programs in the state. The article included photos of Shayla and her team, quotes from grateful patients, and statistics showing their impressive outcomes. Janelle framed the magazine cover and presented it to Shayla at their weekly dinner. "Look at you," Janelle said, tears in her eyes. "2 years ago you were crying in my living room thinking your life was over. Now you're on the cover of magazines, running a successful clinic, dating a wonderful man who treats you like a queen. Tell me again how you were too old." Shayla laughed. "I never said I was too old, Marcus did." "And where is Marcus now?" Keisha asked. They all knew. Marcus was on his 3rd relationship since Tasha had filed for divorce. He'd lost his construction company due to mismanagement. He'd moved back in with his mother. Meanwhile, Shayla had flourished. "You know what's funny?" Rochelle said. "Marcus spent all that time trying to recapture his youth, and he ended up old and bitter. You embraced aging and you became more alive than ever." "That's because youth isn't about how old you are," Donna added. "It's about how alive you feel. Shayla's more youthful at 46 than Marcus is at 50. Shayla looked around at these women, her sisters, her support system, her reminder that she was never truly alone. "I couldn't have done any of this without you all. You know that, right?" "Oh, we know," Janelle grinned, "which is why you're buying dinner tonight." They all laughed. 6 months later, Malcolm did propose. Properly this time, on one knee in Herman Park where Shayla ran every morning. He asked her to marry him not despite her age, but celebrating everything she was. "You're 47 years old," he said, "and you're the most beautiful, vibrant, incredible woman I know. Will you marry me?" Shayla said yes. They married in a small ceremony surrounded by the people who mattered most. Shayla wore a dress that made her feel confident and beautiful. She danced with abandon at the reception. She laughed until her face hurt. And she never, not for 1 second, felt too old. On her 1st anniversary, Shayla ran into Marcus at the grocery store. He looked older, tired. He was alone. "Congratulations on your marriage," he said quietly. "I saw the announcement in the paper." "Thank you. You look happy." "I am." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "I want you to know I messed up with you, with Tasha, with everything. I was chasing something that didn't exist and I lost everything that mattered." Shayla felt no satisfaction in his admission, only a deep, abiding sense of peace. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Marcus, genuinely." "I think what I was looking for was standing in front of me for 17 years, and I was too stupid to see it." "Maybe, but I wasn't the right woman for you, Marcus, because the right woman would have been enough as she was. You needed someone to validate you. I needed someone to see me. We were never going to work. And this new guy, he sees you. Every day." Marcus nodded slowly. "Then I'm glad, I mean it. You deserve to be happy, Shayla." "So do you, but you won't find it in trying to stay young. You'll find it in being content with who you are right now." They parted ways for the last time. Shayla drove home to her husband, to her thriving career, to her life full of friends and purpose and joy. She'd been told she was too old. Instead, she'd proven she was just beginning. Moral of the story: Sometimes the worst thing that happens to us is the best thing that could have happened. Marcus leaving Shayla for a younger woman felt like death at the time, but it was actually birth. The death of who she'd been trying to be. The birth of who she actually was. Age is not our enemy. Mediocrity is. Settling is. Shrinking ourselves to fit someone else's limited vision is. Shayla's story teaches us that it's never too late to start over. Never too late to go back to school. Never too late to pursue your dreams. Never too late to find real love. Never too late to become who you were always meant to be. You're not too old. You're not too tired. You're not too anything. You're exactly where you need to be to begin again. And that, my friends, is the truth they don't want you to know. If this story touched you, if it inspired you, if it made you see yourself differently, share it. Subscribe to this channel for more stories about resilience, redemption, and refusing to be defined by other people's limitations. Drop a comment telling me, what's one thing you've been told you're too old for that you're going to pursue anyway? Let's build each other up. Let's remind each other that our stories aren't over, they're just getting to the good part. And remember, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living so well that you forget to care about revenge in the first place. Until next time, keep rising, keep growing, keep proving them wrong by living your best life. This is your reminder that you're not too old. You're exactly the right age to begin again.